shall prohibit such recording during the testimony of witnesses who so ask. Open Meetings Act, Civil Procedure Code.
You're wrong.
So, what do you got?
You're wrong.
Sit down, Rob.
Okay.
She's not right.
Yeah, I was on that page, not on your page. That's why I said it was. You skipped.
Here.
Mrs. Brent? Here. Mr. Lax?
Here.
Mr. Morrell?
Here.
Mr. Schuhart?
Here.
Mr. Spencer?
Here.
Sheriff Hess? State's Attorney Rhodes? Here.
Okay, we do have a quorum. Everyone received the minutes from the August 12th meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion to approve those minutes, August 12th.
Shannon makes the motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Bob seconds it. Any further discussion, additions, or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. You received treasurer's report from Debbie Marshall on the email. Any questions about that? I'll entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Also move.
Randy makes the motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
A second.
Dale seconds it. Thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We have a couple of zoning things today. Terry, I'll turn it over to you. Please tell us what's going on.
All right, Mr. Chairman, on March 4th, 2020, Charles A. Demersion, acting for Menthos LLC and the Simone Family Trust, applied for a special use permit for a cannabis craft grow facility to be located on a 5-acre tract of A1 agriculture land located at 3245 North, 1100 East Road, Mansfield. Piatt County zoning ordinance requires a special use permit for commercially operated outdoor recreational facilities, fertilizer processing, blending, storage, and sales establishments, and other reasonable similar use in A1 zoning. The $300 special use application fee has been paid. All adjacent property owners were given notice pursuant to statute, and legal notice was published in the Piatt County Journal pursuant to statute. On April 23rd, 2020, the CBA met and considered the application. Mr. Edwards made motion, seconded by Mr. Larson, to table the application until the board could meet for a larger group in a face-to-face meeting. Roll was called and the motion carried. The legal notice was published in the Piatt County Journal pursuant to statute on August 12th, and adjacent property owners were noticed once again. On August 27th, 2020, the findings of fact were discussed and agreed upon by the Zoning Board of Appeals, which voted unanimously 4-0 to not recommend the approval of a special use permit for a cannabis craft grow facility on A1 property located at 3245 North, 1100 East Road, Mansfield. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Any questions for Terry? I believe most of us were at the zoning board of appeals hearing on this. I'll entertain a motion and we can have further discussion.
May I make a comment on it?
Oh, yes, please do. Yeah, I'm sorry.
My name is Charles DeVergen, and I'm one of the ones who brought the motion. My request at this time is actually to defer the matter in order to give me some time to talk to the community a little more. As you heard, there was an initial meeting on it, and there were issues raised at that initial meeting. And after that, after those issues were raised, the general consensus was that the project could be approved. At the second meeting, there were a lot of additional issues raised by the community, all of which I think are legitimate, including issues regarding the amount of water that's going to be used, some of the processing that's going to be there, and other things. And the problem is we have not had a really good opportunity, given the current environment, to engage with the community as to what this project is and isn't, and to determine to address some of the issues that they are raising on a more factual and technical basis. They raised a lot of very legitimate concerns that we just haven't had the ability to address openly. And after the meeting, several of the people came up to me and indicated that, and also indicated during the meeting that, you know, the normal process is you go and talk to all the neighbors, and it just has been impossible for us to do that. When we first started looking at doing a facility here in Piatt County a few years ago, we had an open town hall meeting to engage the public. We talked to the community members. I think that this is a project that fits well within the Piatt County plans for expansion and for development, and to help bring some agricultural, commercial applications that can improve the tax base. But I would like to have the opportunity to engage a little bit more with people. It would also give us the opportunity to look around. We have some other property in Piatt County also, and maybe engage with those neighbors to see if there is an alternate source here, or ultimately to go look for another source if possible. So I guess my request is to, if it's possible, to either kick it back or delay the decision on this until I can have an opportunity to engage a little bit more meaningfully with the community.
Thank you.
I would think that it would be prudent for this board to table this motion. The people that are trying to get it through have already invested quite a bit of money. They've learned some lessons and they know the issues they need to address. And they did, like you said, did not have the opportunity because of the COVID restrictions to one-on-one address it. So rather than voting up or down on this now, I would make a motion that I trust the board would consider seriously to table it, giving him the opportunity to talk to the neighbors and then discuss it with the zoning board of appeals.
I'll second the motion to table.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second.
Thank you.
Now we can have further discussion. Shannon, I would think it might be more appropriate to send it back to the zoning board of appeals.
Right. That's what it said.
I think that's what he was saying.
Okay,
You said table it, but I think really you would
that's what I was
really
saying.
want to say, send it back to the zoning board of appeals for their review.
I think that's more appropriate than.
That is?
Yes. Would you like to amend the motion maybe to do that? Send it back to the zoning board of appeals?
I misspoke, yes, sir. To amend my motion to send it back to the zoning board of appeals.
Right.
Second.
Any further discussion on this?
I listened in on the call and the fellow mentioned the concerns that I noticed about location, maybe some water, so I assume that's some of the stuff you're going to address with the neighbors that are concerned at the zoning meeting.
That's correct.
Okay.
Well, we'll do a roll call vote on this.
I don't know if you want to address that.
Well, I don't know that I can have other discussion on this
Okay.
at this time. This isn't a forum to go back and forth at this time. So we'll do a roll call vote on the motion, please.
Mr. Morrell?
Yes.
Mr. Schumer?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mrs. Front? Yes. Mr. Lass?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries, thank you. Board direction to the zoning board pertaining to revising the wind energy ordinance. Gary, you can tell us a little bit about this, please.
Who called us?
Just to refresh your memory, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Board, we've had a text amendment that the ZBA has been considering. As required by 55 ILCS, amendment of regulations and districts, no amendment to the text of zoning ordinance or amendment to the official zoning map amendment shall be made without a notice to the ZBA. At least 15 days notice of the time and place of such hearing shall be published in a newspaper of general circulation, published in such county. Hearings on text amendments shall be held in the courthouse of the county or another county building with more adequate facilities for such hearing. Legal notice was published in the Piatt County Journal-Republican pursuant to statute. On October 24, 2019, the Zoning Board of Appeals reviewed the text amendments and voted unanimously 3-0 to recommend approval to the county board. On November 13, 2019, at their regularly scheduled meeting, the county board tabled action on the matter. On December 11, 2019, at their regularly scheduled meeting, the county board voted to send the text amendments with suggested changes back to the Zoning Board of Appeals for their review. Legal notice was published in the Piatt County Journal-Republican on January 8, 2020. On January 23, 2020, the Zoning Board of Appeals began review of the text amendments and voted unanimously to table action to their next scheduled meeting on February 27, 2020. On February 27, 2020, the Zoning Board of Appeals reviewed the text amendments and returned their recommendations back to the county board for their consideration. On March 11, 2020, the county board met at their regularly scheduled meeting and voted to send the amendments back to the ZBA for review. On May 28, 2020, the Zoning Board of Appeals discussed and voted unanimously 3-0 to ask for clarification from the county board as to the matters they are to review and reconsider. And you do have in your packet a copy of it. It was the same items that were set back, I believe it was in March. And I think what the zoning board is asking, the motion was not completely clear as to exactly what the ZBA was supposed to be reconsidering. I think that's the question.
Would it be proper to summarize by saying they're wondering if we want them to look at the entire ordinance or just those certain?
Those items, because the items you'll see, so there were some that the zoning board did recommend to change and did recommend acceptance and there were some things that the zoning board did make recommendations of. There were 3, I believe, that they did not make a recommendation and sent it to you. So I think that is their question. Do you want them to reconsider all of them, the whole thing, or just those items?
Well, my choice would be just those specific things where no decision has been made. I'll entertain a motion on this. We can have further discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that the ZBA review the following items. That includes non-participating parcel and non-participating house setbacks for tip height, sound restrictions, overall height of the turbines, and shadow flicker.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? I think that's the most expedient way to deal with this at this point.
Could you repeat that so I can hear what things are?
Can you repeat that?
Did you get that?
No.
Or
Did,
I'll repeat it as well.
go ahead.
The items include non-participating partial and house tip height setbacks, sound restrictions, overall height of the turbines, and shadow.
I still couldn't hear it.
Pardon?
I still couldn't hear what you said. Turbine heights,
Non-participating parcel and house tip height setbacks, sound restrictions, overall height of the turbines, tip height of the turbines, and shadow flicker.
Any further discussion on this? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Latz,
Yes?
Mr. Morrell,
yes.
Mr. Schumar,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Carroll,
Yes.
Mrs. Front,
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Highway Department, Eric, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I have 2 items for you, both items you have seen prior. They both revolve around Allerton Park Road and construction that took place out there. Back in February of 2020, we issued a resolution for improvement. This, what you have in your packet, is the exact same thing other than the legal description of where the road is. Last month when we passed a resolution for Class 2 TARP money, the description, when we sent it into IDOT, operations had trouble figuring out where that road was located due to the description. So we revised the description. That is what has changed in both of these resolutions. So the first one you'll see is a resolution for improvement. You'll see the resolution type up there. It says amended. And for road, street improvements, name of street, how that's listed is different from what you passed in February. That is the only thing that changed on this document. So all this is cleanup language for operations to be able to put this on a map. Turns out that road has got 3 different classifications to its name, and that's what was making it cumbersome for operations to put into their system. So this cleans up that language. So it was the recommendation of the Road and Bridge Committee to send to the full board for their approval today a resolution for improvement with those changes as noted.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Shannon makes the motion and Renee seconds it. Any further discussion?
As Eric mentioned, we did discuss this at our committee level and had the explanation that Eric gave, so we discussed and come to agreement on that. Okay, thank you.
We'll do a roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Carroll.
Yes?
Mrs. Front.
Yes.
Mr. Latz.
Yes.
Mr. Morrell.
Yes.
Mr. Schumer.
Yes.
Mr. Spencer.
Yes. The motion carries.
The next item, again, is the exact same resolution that we passed last month with the changes, again, the same changes for the legal description included in there. Other than that, that's the only thing that changed on that form. And again, it was the recommendation of the Road and Bridge Committee to bring that to the full board for approval today.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second this.
Shannon makes the motion and Bob seconds it. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call, please.
Mr. Carroll.
Yes?
Mrs. Front.
Yes.
Mr. Latz.
Yes.
Mr. Morrell.
Yes.
Mr. Schumer.
Yes.
Mr. Spencer.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Anything else, Eric?
That's all I've got.
Thank you.
Thank
You don't want to stick around there? Okay, reports, EMA, please, Mike Holmes.
I did my full report on Friday, and I'd just like to add to it that I have a meeting with FEMA on Thursday this week, and next week I'll be setting up individual briefings for PA grant applicants.
Okay, thank you. Transportation, Jamie?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we have had one of our drivers tested positive over the weekend for COVID. Fortunately, he has not worked since last Wednesday, as he hadn't been on the schedule. So the Champaign County Health Department does not feel that there's been any exposure at Piatt. We continue to follow our social distancing, our PPE requirements. I got to give a shout out to Scott Porter. He has been a godsend, a huge resource, and a great supporter. So through all this. Other than that, we just continue to see an increase in ridership and hope this little flip doesn't start in the other direction again.
Thank you. Mental health, Tony?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a few items to bring to the board's attention. First one is that since March 16th, our community day service program was shut down, and just recently we were allowed to reopen for what they call a soft reopening August 1st. During that time frame, the Department of Human Services provided supplemental funding, which they called reinvestment funds, into that program. We received notification in late August that that funding, that supplemental funding, would cease at the end of August. So we now, starting September 1, even though we have a significantly reduced population, there is no reinvestment fund. So obviously our billables in the day service program is somewhere around 65% less than what we would normally see. And it's causing, because of COVID and needing to maintain social distancing and transportation and keeping all that, it's causing our ratios of workers to consumers to actually be smaller too. And so we're able to, the concern is, what does that look like as we move from September through the end of the year if the social restrictions maintain in place and group homes continue to choose not to send their program or their people to programming. So we're watching that very closely. The other thing I'd bring to the board's attention is that next week starts Direct Service Professionals Week. So that's DSP, that's a lot of our workers in the day services program. So if you see them out in the community, it would be great if you could encourage them and thank them for the amazing work that they're doing. I'd also bring to your attention that we're continuing to utilize our telehealth and our behavioral health programs. Once COVID started, we tried to work with our existing system that we had in place to pull off telehealth. We're able to do it adequately, but as I've mentioned to this board and to representatives at Bellwether, an investment in our IT to be able to provide our community the best possible services through a telehealth would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Tony.
Yep.
Scott, nursing home?
Just an update. 2 weeks ago, we had an employee test positive for COVID. He was a direct care worker, and so we notified the families and employees. The state came in and started their mandatory 2-week testing. Yesterday was the second round. Our expectation is that the first week was all negative. We didn't see any, and we've not seen any evidence of the virus. However, we'll see what this week brings. If those come back all negative from this week, then we'll be able to re-enter the second phase, which would allow us to have visits, screens, and kind of go back to normal. So we're looking forward to that. I thank Jamie for her support, but honestly, I would have liked to have not had that experience first to be able to help you with it. But Jamie has a lot of great instincts, and she handled it perfectly. So, some better news. We will take delivery of the equipment for our snoozlin or sensory room for the Alzheimer's unit today. COVID had limited that project severely. We were supposed to take delivery sometime in the middle of April, and of course, those items didn't arrive, and it's taken some negotiation to try to even get them here. It'll take a little while for us to be able to implement it, only because they're not sending support, which will be a reduction in the amount we pay, but it'll also mean that we're all going to have to become kind of tech savvy to try to get the room up and running. They'll help us via the internet, but it's just going to take a little bit longer for us to get the room up and running. So that's kind of exciting. We still are looking for a director at Maple Point, so that process continues. Stacy Cribbs will remain the interim until we find that new person. And of course, we thank her for her service. She just found a position within the facility she thinks maybe is a little bit better suited for her. So, otherwise, I think that's about all we have on the nursing home side.
Thank you, Scott. Before we move on to miscellaneous business, I'd like to ask our bellwether representatives for a quick update on what they're doing, please.
Sure. We wanted to address the board in the status of the budget. So our current working draft is about ready for release for the review of the board. We're very happy with our progress. Jamie and Linda have been very instrumental in getting us all the information that we need. As soon as we need something, we reach out, they get back to us right away, and we really appreciate that. They've helped us keep a good timeline. So we're to where we're going to start releasing more data in order to be able to have some back and forth from the board to clean this up. We continue to get information from the state. So compensation for the state's attorney's position, the reimbursement from the state, those numbers are coming in. So we're able to take out placeholders now with official numbers that we're starting to receive, so that it's getting closer every time we put these things in. So we're happy with where we're at. The labor negotiations for the union contract is still ongoing, but we were able to calculate the impact of IRMRF, SLEP, and the programs for the employer paid portion of theirs, put it in the calculation for anticipated levies, so we're able to use that information off of our projections. The corporate fund is a capped fund, and it is at that cap. So we are currently working on strategies to identify other funds or funds that may be overspending at this time. The EMA portion, the largest increase from year to year was EMA. The department seems to be going through an adjustment period. We discussed this at the meeting the other day. And he's going from a department that was handled away by a previous director to a new director. And there seems to be multiple views of where this is going. Our recommendation for next year's budget would be a contingency budget, a match last year's budget to this year. And then he's identified multiple grants that he's anticipating on getting, but they were not represented in prior year budgets. So our recommendation is a contingency budget that includes those funds in the budget as long as those grant funding comes in. So it's another portion of the budget that's triggered. Here's the flat EMA budget, spend this. When that new income comes in, spend this. So that's in the rough draft. We'll ask for your review, your comments on that. For the muddy picture of EMA, it's Bellwether's recommendation to define the scope of EMA. So you're getting multiple pictures, multiple opinions. So our recommendation would be to define a working group to define the scope of the EMA, to better define the department rather than having this muddy water of what are you being provided by the department head. So Piatt County needs this much EMA. That's what we would need the director to give us. We're previously getting a EMA director to give us a different EMA department than this one is, and the board wants another one. So that scope needs to be defined by a working group. So that would be our recommendation to the board for EMA. A lot of COVID impacts have been felt. The biggest impacts that we see is the revenue in the circuit clerk's office. For our experience and what we see trending out in 2021, we anticipate the revenues to recover and be flat to where they're at. So we believe the impact will be primarily 2020, 2021, should be back on target. We are noticing a few things that we're trying to work out with Linda and specific departments, different revenues that we see in other counties that we don't see in Piatt County. One of the most significant ones we see is the animal control fees are typically a balancing act for the animal control department of the fees come in and support that department, but the fees are not coming back in. So they appear to be going towards a special fund for animal control. The animal control is using to subsidize their county budget. So this is not unheard of, but it's not exactly best practice. So our recommendation would be find a better way to track that or communicate how those funds are used. There are special funds, including that one that I just talked about for animal control. We see those in the coroner's office. A large omission that we have not seen is the coroner cremation fund. We've discussed these different funds. They appear in other counties, so we anticipate that they're there. We're not sure if they're not being tracked or if the numbers are not coming in or if they're named something else, and we just need to clarify those things. We continue to identify special funds. Let's see, the last item I wanted to touch on was the meeting with our probation officer, your probation officer. He was able to identify funds to help support the department and authorized by the judge to subsidize the department, and we received confirmation on the numbers, and we were able to add those to the budget for updated numbers. All right.
Thank you, Dustin. Any questions from the board for Dustin?
I just have one comment. I think you mentioned about ongoing labor negotiations. We've not started any labor negotiations. I mean, those contracts go through the end of this fiscal year. We need to start them, but as of today, I believe I'm correct, Chairman, I just want to be sure people understand there's not any current labor negotiations going on today. They haven't started yet for the new contracts.
My comment is more anticipating the impact of labor changes for 2021.
Just want to be sure people understood.
They're not ongoing, but
they will be down the road.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Dustin. Moving on to miscellaneous business, amended certified list of Democratic election judges. Jennifer, you can tell us about this?
This is an amended list. There was a list approved back in July, and there's been some additions to election judges that the chairman added to the Democratic.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion on this, please.
I'll make the motion.
Ray makes the motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Shannon seconds it. Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call, please.
Mrs. Front?
Yes.
Mr. Laps?
Yes.
Mr. Morrell?
Yes.
Mr. Schumer?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
The motion carries. Resolution, cancellation of certificate.
This is the same thing as we had last month, where it was property taxes so this is releasing the certificate.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve this, please.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Shannon makes a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Renee seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call, please.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mrs. Front?
Yes.
Mr. Latz?
Yes.
Mr. Morrell?
Yes.
Mr. Schumer?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Contract renewal, Zone 3. Who's responsible for that?
Linda, do you want to speak on this?
Linda, please.
Yeah, this is for my accounting program. It would be changing it from standalone to the cloud. We've been looking at doing the cloud, but this way, if anything happens, then I'd be able to access it from home easier.
So we also would have more backup
And
capability.
we'd have more backup, we wouldn't be on the server anymore, so that would free up some server space.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion on the contract.
I'll make a motion to approve it. This is, go ahead.
Okay, Bob makes the motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Dale seconds it. Any further discussion?
Is this a one-time fee, Linda, or is this an annual fee?
It would be, we would pay monthly for the 57208, and the setup and stuff is a one-time fee that we could turn in toward the CARES Act.
And I believe this contract is for 3 years, correct?
Yes. And this way, then, we wouldn't have any of the rate increases that they're doing every year.
Do you know, Linda, if the price is locked in
For the 3 years.
for the 3 years? That's
Yes.
it. Okay, good.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call, please.
Mr. Morrell?
Yes.
Mr. Schumer?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mrs. Front?
Yes.
Mr. Latz?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Intergovernmental Agreement, GIS Services. Terry, would you know more about that?
This is just the approval of the payment for the flyover. We have a flyover that's going to be 3 years. It was completed in April, and the agreement was signed previously. This is the approval of the invoiced payment.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion on this, please.
I make a motion to approve the contract renewal.
Okay, Bob makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Shannon seconds it. Further discussion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
I happen to chair that committee. I was hoping Jennifer would be here today, the assessor. We were assured at the meeting, on Thursday, the committee meeting, that the new flyover for 2020 would be up and running as of Thursday morning at 9 o'clock. Well, as of this morning at 8 o'clock, it's still the most current is 2017, and I'm not happy about that. And I'd like to find out why it's delayed. Almost a week later, it's still not up and running. So I just want to make sure it was part of the record so that it would be addressed before next month's meeting. Thank you.
Okay, anything else from the board? Okay, if not, we'll do a roll call, please.
Mr. Morrell?
Yes.
Mr. Schumer?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mrs. Front?
Yes.
Mr. Latz?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Approval of claims. County claims, Dale?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the county claims for the month of September, including total highway claims of $369,168.57. County claims of $100,283.19 for a total of $469,451.76.
I'll second that.
Okay, Dale's made a motion, Randy seconded it. Any further discussion?
Most of this are the higher amounts. Of course, this time of the year we've had some final payments on some road work, some bridges and things being done, repaving. So that's the majority of this amount.
Okay, thank you. We'll do a roll call, please.
Mr. Latz?
Yes.
Mr. Morrell?
Yes.
Mr. Schumer?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mrs. Front?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Dale, paid out claims.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the paid out claims for September totaling $1,405,793.18.
Dale makes the motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Randy seconds the motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call, please.
Mr. Lapps?
Yes.
Mr. Morrell?
Yes.
Mr. Schumart?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mrs. Front?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Mental health claims, Renee.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to approve the expenses of August 31st, 2020 for mental health of $33,846.43 with a balance of $120,304.37.
Okay, Renee makes the motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Bob seconds the motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Front?
Yes.
Mr. Lapps?
Yes.
Mr. Morrell?
Yes.
Mr. Schumart?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
The motion carries. Mental health capital account, Renee.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to approve the expenses of the capital account of $1,835 with a balance of $42,158.33.
Okay, Renee makes the motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Bob seconds it. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Front?
Yes.
Mr. Lapps?
Yes.
Mr. Morrell?
Yes.
Mr. Schumart?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Transportation operating account claims. Dale, are you doing this?
Yes, I'll go ahead and do that. Mr. Chairman, the Transportation Committee met Thursday, September 3rd, and approved the operating claims. So I'll make a motion to approve the operating expenses, operating claims for the transportation department totaling $80,968.35, leaving a balance of $61,520.37.
Dale makes the motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Randy seconds the motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Lapps?
Yes.
Mr. Morrell?
Yes.
Mr. Schumart?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mrs. Front?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Nursing home claims, Randy.
Mr. Chairman, for the month of August, the payroll totals and claim totals come to a balance of $614,693.54. With that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, Randy makes the motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Shannon seconds the motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call, please.
Mr. Schumart?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mrs. Front?
Yes.
Mr. Lapps?
Yes.
Mr. Morrell?
Yes.
Motion carries. Nursing home funded depreciation.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion for the funded depreciation fees for $9,400.01.
Okay, Randy makes the motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Shannon seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Schumart?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mrs. Front?
Yes.
Mr. Lapps?
Yes.
Mr. Morrell?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Maple Point, Randy.
Mr. Chairman, the total payroll and claims for Maple Point for the month of August was $75,819.41. With that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, Randy makes the motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Renee seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mr. Schumart?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mrs. Front?
Yes.
Mr. Lapps?
Yes.
Mr. Morrell?
Yes.
Motion carries. Last but not least, Maple Point funded depreciation.
The funded depreciation for Maple Point this last month of August is $5,365.15. With that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, Randy makes the motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Shannon seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mr. Schumart?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mrs. Front?
Yes.
Mr. Latz?
Yes.
Mr. Morrow?
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, it brings us to comments from the floor, and I must advise everyone, please limit your comments to 2 minutes per speaker to be fair. And I'll ask Madam Clerk if you can time the speakers if there are any, please. So, any comments from the floor?
I do. I choose not to be filmed. It's my right not to be filmed. According to the OMA Act, turn your camera away, please. Turn your camera away, please. At my request, you're violating my rights. I do not want to be broadcast on Facebook, on the open forum. I do not want to be filmed on Facebook. Turn your camera away. Then I guess you're all in this.
Other comments from the floor?
Yes, I have a comment. I'm not going to go
State your
through
name for the record, please.
John Kraft, K-R-A-F-T, like the cheese company, only I don't own it. I'm not going to elaborate as much as I did last week, but, and I would stop right now if everybody that claimed more than one meeting in a day to get paid for the month of August, if you would raise your hand, I would be happy. So nobody claimed more than one day, one meeting a day? No answer?
We're just listening to you.
Well, Mr. Spencer, I don't think I've used these words before, but I believe you're stealing from the taxpayer. Your compensation setting resolution violates the county's code. You get paid per diem or salary or a combination of both. You're claiming per meeting. July the 1st, you got 2 meetings in one day. You got paid $60 more on July the 1st than you should have. You got paid $60 more on July the 2nd than you should have. You got paid $120 more on July the 6th than you should have. You got $60 more on the 16th than you should have, $60 more on the 17th than you should have, $120 more on the 23rd of July than you should have, and $60 more on the 30th of July than you should have. You're raking in a whole lot of money that you're not authorized to have, and when you take money you're not authorized to have, it's called stealing. I wish you would stop it. That's all I have. Thank you. You're not the only one doing it, by the way.
Any other comments, public comments? Yes, in the back row.
Yeah, Mike Nolan, myself. This is just on the, we got election coming up, and just kind of maybe the clerk could let Steve know that what they're doing here to make sure that the election goes smoothly. And I had a question is, will the election judges be tested before the election? Is one question. And will the people in the clerk's office be tested before the election? Because if there is somebody gets the virus in the clerk's office, you know, what's the backup plan? Because I assumed everybody would be quarantined at that time. So kind of what the backup plan would that be? And no offense to the security, but we're all wearing masks in here today. But as we come through security, they're not wearing masks, and there seems to be a disconnect. And with people coming in to vote, maybe it would be a good idea if everybody wore masks. So that's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, hearing none, then we'll move on to committee reports. I guess I'll start with you, Randy.
Okay, thank you. I had an opportunity to go visit out at the mental health building and transportation, and I literally could not find a parking spot. I literally had to park out back. There's been issues out there with this parking area for quite several years, and I do believe the cooperation between transportation and mental health. I would love for the transportation department to take it I think if Jamie would have had her whole staff out there, we'd been parking in the grassy area anyway. So I know there's some funding available there through your transportation, Dale, that I know of, that I think we can work on with through Jamie and Tony both. There's some money available there that I think if we can just get another 23 parking areas there in that grassy area, and at least get it in the finalization plans before the physical year ends this year. Next year is what I'm thinking, if we can have it. And it sure will ease a little bit of a tension area out there. I don't want to say it's personnel tension, but it is a parking tension area. And like I said, it's not going to get any better. And I don't think, Tony, you're probably not operating at a full staff yet either, or full capacity. Let's use that word instead. So, like I said, Dale, I know you're the chairman with that committee. If we could get it on the agenda for us discussion, at least get it some type of an idea of what to move forward with. And I know that area, as I was misunderstood, that I assumed those lots ran north and south. But I was wrong. They're running east and west. So as far as the issue that I always was with the assumption that there was a concrete issue about how much concrete could be on a position there. But I believe we can get these things fine-tuned. And I do know, in fact, it's been at least 4 years in discussion. So like I said, I'd like to have some plans set in place for next spring's to go forward.
Dale, committee report?
I don't have anything, just to address Randy's comment. I think 2 meetings ago, we talked about looking into that, of expanding part of the transportation, given the time frame on some grant money we have that's running out, so we'll just have to get that addressed.
Yes. Thank you. I think that's kind of where I was going with some of that.
Bob, committee report?
I already gave it with the GIS, not mine.
Okay. Renee, committee report?
The only thing I have is I just want to commend Tony and his staff of how they are handling everything with this COVID and trying to deal with it the best they can.
Thank you. Okay. Shannon, committee report?
Allerton Road is pretty well complete and quite nice. I'm not sure if anyone's had a chance to drive it yet or not, but Eric and his team did quite a nice job on getting that stretch resurfaced for the county. And I guess I'd add on that, Randy, if we could put that on our committee report. If Eric had maybe had drawn up some plans or engineer for that parking area that you're referring to.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, maybe I probably moved down the line. Maybe it's something that you and Dale and Tony can all work together through the transportation, mental health, and the engineer. I believe Eric does have some ideas out there.
Thank you, Shannon. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Nobody wants to leave. I make a motion to adjourn this meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Bob makes a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Shannon seconds. Any further discussion? All in